going back maybe to sound, obviously after main material and a way of making the horn, in our particular case, it has been very, very important to work on different finishings. When we decided to come out with a new saxophone and we introduced the R1 Jazz, which is, by the way, just a name because I like jazz and I play a little bit, so I decided to call it R1 Jazz. It was kind of like the development of the R1 line, which is which means in fact Roberto 1, which is my father. And so I wanted to tell you that this is an R1 Jazz, but it can be used by all musicians. It's not made only for playing jazz. For sure there are ways of setting up the keys or other details which can fit better a classical player and others to fit better a jazz player. But my opinion is that when you have a good saxophone, this saxophone can play both classical or jazz music by changing the embouchure or the mouthpiece, or just maybe some of the openings of the keys. So finishings, we introduced the R1 Jazz again, and we decided to experiment a lot with finishings, and we understood, even because the market was saying that lacquer was not the best finishing sound wise, obviously, and so we decided, okay, we will make something without lacquer, and we started simply experimenting with already some ideas, because we were kind of even hitting some tubes made in other materials, just trying to hear what it was sounding like. And we did silver plating, heavy silver plating, direct on brass without anything underneath. And we also were able to develop together with our plater, which is a very high level plater, gold plating, heavy gold plating, direct on brass, or like in this case on silver, because here we silver plate the body first, then we protect the outside with a varnish to for not allowing the electricity to go through, and then with a special anode we go into the galvanical bathroom, gold galvanical bathroom, sorry, for the gold inside the bell. Italian is coming up.
It's going to be bright.
This was perfect. I drink. So this was, I must tell that at the beginning it was maybe even frustrating to me, because I was asking people like Emanuele, for instance, another friend and great player, who is coming often to the factory to test and experiment and help us to develop horns. I thought maybe I'm crazy, because I was testing a silver-plated horn and then a gold-plated, and even for myself, which I play like an hobby, it was pretty obvious the differences. So I started to experiment even more, and we are finally offering I would say 4 significant finishings. One is heavy silver plating, the other one, and I put it here because it's the farthest, heavy gold plated. Then we have heavy silver plated with gold inside the bell and gold plated keys here, and then we have this finishing, which is heavy silver plated with gold inside the bell. For each of these finishings, I think today I can kind of describe the sound colors and the kind of sound they can offer. Especially if I play myself or I hear the saxophone in front of a player I know, so I know how he is playing and what mouthpiece he is using and this and that. With silver on top of the red brass or on top of even other metals, we can get the horn to be a little bit more projective and a little bit brighter compared to other finishings, and especially more obvious to me when you play in the mid-high register. It's like that when you play a silver-plated saxophone, you understand quicker where is the center of the note. It's difficult maybe to explain, but I think I've been pretty clear. You can imagine when I play a silver-plated horn from us, so rampone bore, rampone material, and silver on top, because I always like to speak about what I know, because I didn't do experiments with other horns. What is the question?
Visitor has a question if the tone holes are rolled.
No, tone holes are not rolled, are drawn. Sorry, but the edge is flat. I believe Rampone made rolled tone holes in the past, but and it was great, like Kohn saxophones or other manufacturers. And by the way, we are pretty close as a philosophy to the Kohn philosophy of manufacturing the horn, maybe closer than to other manufacturers. But I believe in those years it was a need to introduce rolled tone holes because of the leather available for the pads, which was not resistant like today. So it was mostly having the rolled tone holes. It was mostly for a question of resistance of the pad in the long run. Today, with a very resistant leather, I think there is no need to have a rolled tone hole, because later a rolled tone hole is very delicate, more delicate than a regular one, and also it's very hard to keep it flat under construction. If you
keep the vibration. Oh, no way.
In a way, also, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's not bad. It's changing something for sure, because I'm the guy that I believe, after I thought I was crazy, that even different pearls are bringing something different, because everything is vibrating. Then sometimes it's difficult to understand what it is, or which is the direction of the sound when you change something. But rolled tone holes, I think I like all vintage horns with rolled tone holes, but simply today I don't see the need to have rolled tone holes. Also because today the level of the players require very, very well adjusted saxophones, and they research for very good padding and tight keys, and having just regular tone holes like our ones, you can work better and have them very flat and make an overall or a padding which is, I will say, perfect. So where was I? Again, I was speaking of these variables influencing the sound. So finishings are very, very, very important in our particular case. Moving to the gold-plated horn, which is the farthest compared to the silver-plated, or maybe we step on the gold-plated to explain you. We developed again this technique to deposit heavy gold 24 karat direct on the metal, so without anything underneath. We experimented with some nickel underneath, but the vibration of the nickel, I'm sure that other people here will agree, it's something that you feel it. It's not allowing you to go deep enough, and also there is this ring which I don't like. Then maybe some other like it, or I don't know. But so here is the gold plated, heavy gold plated without lacquer again. When I say heavy, it's not maybe the real thickness is kind of our recipe, so it's not needed to tell you which is exactly the thickness of the gold or of the thickness over the surface. But when I say heavy, that means that you don't need to lacquer to protect the gold or the silver, because both these metals will last in the time and probably will last for long, so you don't need to protect them. And again, the heavy gold plated is the darkest we have. It's like immediately when I play it, and when other players tested them at the factory, they told us, and I thought that it's the darkest one, and the projection of the sound is it's not really projecting like a silver, so it's not really frontal. It's more like you feel like surrounded by the sound. You feel like sound everywhere coming from and going everywhere. You maybe miss a little bit when you, especially when you play it, not from if you are in the audience. When you play it, you miss a little bit this projection. And sometime, I believe some players decided to stay on the silver-plated horns, or maybe silver with gold inside the bell, because they feel they can go a little bit, you know, farther with silver on the surface. So, just to give you another idea, the dynamics of available from a silver-plated saxophone start from, let's say, I don't have a blackboard, but let's say from here, from maybe 5, and they can go until 25. With gold on the surface, you can start with the sound before, so you can play pianissimo, and it's helping you to play pianissimo, so you start maybe from 2, but you go only until 15. So the range spectrum of the gold is, to me, you know, smaller compared to the silver-plated horns. So this is mostly the difference. I will say, I like to describe the sound coming from a silver-plated horn, like more like a square, very solid because of the bore on our saxophones. So never too bright to me. So very solid at the bottom, very projective, and very clear and precise on mid-high register. A little bit brilliant up, and then you go, which is kind of like a square, and then you go on the gold plated, which is more like a round shape, like a sun, with a very round, very dark, and with a lot of positive fog around, and which I like it very much. It's very alluring, but sometimes you miss this projection. So for instance, if you need to project a little bit, I was in front of a saxophone quartet, to give you another idea. Some of our customers, they come to the factory, they experiment, and they want to know which one is the best for them. And when they were playing for all 4 of them gold-plated saxophones, the mixture of sound was simply great. You know, it was like if they were playing all together and one in the other. But the alto player in that case is the one making the solo play, and he was having maybe, he had to push a little bit more for having his sound to come out with the gold-plated horn. He was then switching just to try on an horn like this with silver on the surface, and maybe the sound of all 4 was a little bit less together, but when he was soloing, the sound was, you know, reaching you immediately. It was very clear in the middle of the others. So just to explain these two, and what I mean was very were very welcome to us were the 2 finishings in the middle. One is this: you have the silver plating with gold inside the bell, which is kind of like the silver plated horn in the mid-high register, but more closer to the gold plated in the low register. But I mean, I think you can feel the gold even in the high register. The gold here is bringing a little bit more of elegance, more of gold frequencies that are mixing together with the silver, and I believe this is one of our best finishings, because you feel like if you have more things available, colors from the silver, colors from the gold. And then there is this other finishing, which is also great, and again, when we tested that the first time, I started to tell Claudia, it's impossible. I mean, you cannot feel differences between gold-plated keys and silver-plated keys. Today, after we made maybe 50 of them, it's very clear. This moves exactly on favor of the gold. So it's like you still have this possibility to go very far with your sound, but you have, again, a little bit more of this, you feel that this positive fog is coming around you, and it's a little bit darker than this, is what I feel. And so this is for describing 4 different finishings and how much these finishings are important for us on our saxophones.